Hello and once again welcome to New Meta. We are all the way at episode 18 and today we'll be delving into the perfect team composition. That's such elusive, perfect sweet mix of heroes that can gain MMR for yourself and for 4 of your random friends. Joining me, as always, we have Marco, Taco. How are you since the short 2 days since our special Tuesday episode?
In those 2 days, I've been doing great. I'm very happy to be recording another pod. Always excited to be back with the boys. And yeah, looking forward to this topic. It's actually going to be a really fun one to talk about.
You've got some fun news as well. Go on, what's your news? What's happened?
Fun news, I guess it's just the classic DotA update. Solos have been going well. We're climbing.
It's a casual update.
Casual update.
Casual
Finally
update.
hit the 6k MMR that I've never hit before. Feels good.
That's a clap.
That's a clap.
Yeah, major claps.
Honestly, I think it's now 9 win streak in solos. It's just been this one direction climb. Meanwhile, you're the polar opposite.
Well, to be fair, 1-1 today. As many wins as losses. Feels good.
You can't say that about your last 20 games.
Yeah, all right.
I'm just saying the flat balance is out at 50-50.
Jesus, last time I asked you for Dota news, tell you that.
Why is he's so feisty? I don't
I know,
understand.
yeah. What's going on?
Thinks he's at 6K, he can start treating people
like dirt,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's been listening too much to some other 6Ks. Anyway.
I'm in the clan now. I've been initiated.
The 6K clan.
The first rule is everyone else is shit at the game.
Adam, you're not going to flame my last 20 games, are you? How's your week, how's your last 2 days been? Any updates, or are you excited for this episode or anything?
I started to play a little bit more ranked solo.
Ooh, returning.
Yeah. I'm going to just spam Venomancer. I went 2-2 yesterday, so not the best, but the games where I do win are 25 minutes, so that's pretty nice.
That is nice, yeah. Before we get on with the topic, Discord's been popping as usual. In fact, we had in-houses earlier today.
No, dude. 2 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago, sorry. We had an in-house 2 days ago. Yeah, sorry, I have to forget that we're in some weird parallel universe where it's 2 days earlier recording. Anyway, Discord's been going well. Enjoying it. A lot of people now. A lot of good chat, right?
Yeah, discussions are always really fun. And the general chat has been popping quite a lot today with some friendly banter. That's always fun to see.
Yeah. So let's just jump into the topic, the perfect team composition. And the format we're going to take for this episode more or less is going over a kind of drafting checklist. What things do you want your team comp to be able to accomplish in a game? And why all these things are needed, if they're needed, and if they're not always needed, why not? So it's really as simple as that. We'll be talking about whether your team needs push, team fight, ganking potential, tanking. Do you need damage? Do you need stuns? Are these things always necessary? Only sometimes, etc. You get the picture. So really, we could start anywhere, but let's start with something that's simple. That's push. Marco, do you think a lineup always needs push? And why is having a hero or heroes that can push objectives important, do you think?
Yeah, so I was going to suggest starting off with the idea of pushing and push power, because I thought to myself, okay, you win a game of Dota by destroying the enemy team's throne. Okay, how do you do that? You take some towers, take some more towers, and eventually you can kill the throne. So you need this somewhere in your lineup. You're going to have to be able to hit buildings and take them down. Then I was starting to think, can you win games with lineups that aren't very great at pushing? And when we say pushing, I think we just mean taking down buildings, right? And generally, your life is going to be harder if there isn't at least one person that has some kind of pushing capability, right? Like I'm thinking, say you throw some weird wonky 5 intelligence hero draft. Say you don't have a Furion. I mean, okay, maybe 5 strength hero draft, like where none of the heroes have kind of good ways to push. You're probably going to struggle to end the game and finish the game, and you'll probably have to have items pick up the slack a bit with like necrobucks or something. So I would, say that you want at least I think it would be necessary. So you listed different features of a lineup. I think not all of them are necessary, but I think a little push, a sprinkle of push is a necessary ingredient.
Yep.
I would just add to that. Seems a question that I always, or in a draft phase, the question that always gets asked or the statement is, we need a building hitter. That seems to be the one that comes up the most, is like, we need someone that's going to actually hit buildings, or we need someone that's going to push. And not even shove waves, just actually
Literally take down
sieging
towers.
the tower. Yeah.
Really, that shows how much higher MMR you are than me, because in my games it's, we need a tank. That's the one that I get every game.
Yep.
You need a
The
tanky
tank.
hero.
I think you look
Big
at your
touch.
cores and you think, are any of these cores capable of taking buildings relatively okay? Like typically you position one, like eventually he's going to be this big fast right clicker typically, and therefore can take towers, like a troll or PA. These guys are going to be able to hit towers fast at some point. But then sometimes you have games where maybe a Razor's in the position one, or like a Timber Source farm in the safe lane, and these kind of, it's not always the case that you can just go, pushes, we've got that because we've got a carry. That isn't always true. So then you've got to
Of course,
think,
yeah, it's definitely not always true.
yeah, so then you've got
Yeah.
to think, who else can pick up the slack? Is the two, do they have a skill set able to do that or not? Does the three have to itemize, or do you have to pick up a three that's like focused more about taking down buildings? Because really, going back to the point of the throne being destroyed wins you the game, you do need to be able to tick off your win condition, i.e. literally ending the game, or else it's going to be harder for you to win. If you've got 5 strength heroes, you're going to struggle to close down a game.
Yeah, ending the game is, I definitely agree, ending the game is one of the problems that a lineup with no push will run into. But it's so much more than that, right? I mean, getting ahead in a game of Dota, forget winning it, but just getting ahead involves taking objectives. Towers open up the map, we know this. And even just being able to threaten objectives with split push and stuff. Say you have an offlane Beastmaster, you see that running at your tower with Vlads, and in a Beast, you're like, oh dear, we really need to defend our tier 2. But if you see, I don't know, I'm thinking of an offlaner that doesn't push tower, I don't know, like a Slardar, say. If the enemy Slardar is pushing towards your tower, it's so much less scary because you know your tower's not in half as much danger of falling. So it just lets you play that much easier. And yeah, so it's not just ending the game, it's getting ahead.
Yeah.
Having push just allows you to do so much more. There's nothing worse than winning a team fight and not being able to do anything with it.
No, yeah, it's the point of how do you snowball your advantage and when ahead, get further ahead. If you've got the utility to take objectives and take more map control, yeah, not just shove creep like Adam says, but take towers, and then it opens up the map more, gives you the gold to get your items, etc. Yeah, that point is massive.
It's the nail in the coffin of a power spike as well. If the enemy team has a crazy power spike but absolutely no push, then that power spike will likely come and go because they won't be able to capitalize it. They won't be able to end the game, like you're saying, Marco. Whereas if you've got a team that does have crazy push, if they hit that massive power spike, they're able to use that to literally take the game by the throat through objectives. Because we've probably said it 4 times already.
Go on, Adam.
Objectives are what wins the game. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, what you're saying about power spikes. Like you said, if they don't have push but they have a power spike, well, they're going to have to actually kill 5 heroes for them to be able to take a tower. Because say if they win a team fight and you don't really have push, feels bad if like the Winter Wyvern is the only person that survives and they Splinter Blast the wave and then you can't push because you're tanking the tower. So yeah, and it's not even necessary your cores have to have like a push, but someone does. I mean, like you can't have Lich Bane supports and then have no push from your cores either. But if you had like Nature's Prophet or I don't know, just Leshrac or something, okay, that's probably sufficient push from a support. Probably make up for having like an Axe can't push towers, or a Centaur can do a little bit, but not too great. You just want to have a little sprinkling of something. You don't want to be stuck and just like, the only way we have taking a tower is just auto attacks from heroes that actually don't scale on damage.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I hate Terrorblade, because typically for a carry, say they're behind or equal, they're not always this massive threat because the nature of a carry is you need gold to be relevant. But then I hate Terrorblade because the enemy team could be really behind, and the Terrorblade be behind, but say he gets 30 to 60 seconds, minute of space, and maybe you're preoccupied in a long drawn out fight or whatever on the other side of the map, and he can just mow down tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 towers so fast because of his metamorphosis and illusions, and just that is able to claw his enemy team back into it because of all the reasons we've said. And there's no other position 1 that can just like, oh my god, eye roll, take towers out of nowhere, even if you're not ahead. It's one of his big strengths.
So, are we all happy to put pushing into the theoretical category of necessary?
A sprinkle.
What? Sprinkle?
A sprinkle of push.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah. But some push is necessary, right?
Yeah.
Gene, I think I hesitate to say it's the most important thing, but I think it's probably the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're saying it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's absolutely necessary. Not every single hero has to have it, but you need to have at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to make the game last forever. Yeah.
Yeah, if you take it to the extreme and you imagine having Zeus mid, Undying for Slardar 3, one that can't hit towers at all.
Just like a Necro. I mean, Necro
like
helps
a
the
Sven
push,
or something.
does not actually... Well, Sven at least can pop ult and hit a tower.
Warcry's all right against tower as well.
Like a Timbersaw 1.
Yeah, Timber, yeah. That's not going to be a good team comp at all. In fact, it's going to be terrible. So, well, do you remember the Timber game? We played a game against a Timber that was going crazy out of control, a party game. And they had literally so little push that Timber ended up buying a Meteor Hammer.
Yeah, they couldn't close out the game
they
for
couldn't
50,
do anything,
60
yeah,
minutes.
we ended up winning.
Because of that point, and we were able to claw our way back and eventually turn it. That was such a crazy game.
Yeah, and you always know it's a bad... your lineup doesn't have push when your Timbersaw is buying a Meteor Hammer.
He also didn't go the 100 damage talent, so he actually just could not right-click a tower. With the 100 damage talent, you can at least hit a little bit harder.
Yeah, you can right-click, yeah. So pushing, essential, you heard it here first. A sprinkle is essential. The next place we'll go... In fact, I already said it, so I'm going to just go to tank. Durability, I feel like, is underratedly potent, especially in lower MMR games. Just being super tanky is such a asset in itself. Is it always necessary to have a really fat tanking hero in a game, or can you get away with squishy heroes? I feel like this... Marco, I don't know if you want to get us started in terms of where you'd lean.
The way I see it is that the tank is only necessary or useful in a synergy kind of way. So the classic is, say you've got a sniper on your team and you want him to be stood at the backline pepping. So we go, let's get some tank frontliner that can cause havoc, distraction, soak up damage and spells to enable the sniper in the background. That's the way I kind of see a tank, that they're all about enabling a certain kind of position 1 or 2 that doesn't want to be focused or wants to be like backline dealing damage. Yeah,
or I would add as well, the flip side of that coin is to disable the enemy team with a really tanky hero. I'm thinking...
Is that not a kind of initiator? Are we mixing tank and initiator?
No, tank. Specifically tank. So what I'm thinking of is, I've heard, particularly at the Kiev Major, from the True site and also from Summit, a lot of teams really rate picking super tanky heroes against LC. For the reverse reason of what you're saying is, you stand with one really tanky hero that LC can't duel at the front, and then you basically nullified LC initiation, unless obviously LC does some crazy flank on people. But so I feel like it can work two ways in terms of picking a tank. There are certain heroes that you can pick tanks against that work just as well as enabling, say, a sniper on your backline.
So when I think of tank, also just for kind of clarity of what heroes are thinking about, what comes to my mind is Mars, Bristleback. What other heroes would we kind of categorize here?
Underlord's tanky.
Underlord's a great one, actually, yeah.
Well, the instance that I'm thinking of in Kiev Major was actually an Alchemist. They picked Alchemist. This is in Game 5 against VP. and OG, the VP pick a Legion Commander, and OG are all I'll pick Alchemist because they can't. It's really good against LC because you just stick Alchemist in the front and LC can't duel. So that was another hero that potentially you'd throw in.
Honestly, Pudge could be classed as a tank because a Dream Pudge case is, I mean, a Dream tank any case is that you're, taking distraction, tanking spells, and in that way you make space in a fight for then the rest of your team to be doing stuff.
Yeah. There are a few other very durable heroes.
Yeah.
Tide Hunter Centaur can be built very durably. Abaddon's quite durable in a sense. Wraith King in a sense as well. When I think of tank, I'm almost certainly thinking of, do you want to build some super beefy core? You're not getting this from your support, right? Do you want one of your 3 cores to be super beefy? And I would say, personally, I'd maybe come down a bit stronger on this one than maybe you two, just purely based off my own experience, in that drafts where 5 heroes are all squishy, especially 3 cores, when you have 3 cores that are very squishy and easy to kill, over the course of a Dota game, it makes your life a lot harder to execute fights, because if you make one poor initiation, it's very easy for you to just get team wiped, whereas it allows you to make more mistakes when you have very durable heroes. So I think the lower in MMR you go from the top, the more and more important having durable heroes, or at least one very durable hero, becomes.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that exact point, that if the enemy team not even just has squishy heroes, but say heroes that kind of say the spells are super important and without them they don't really have this damage output anymore, and if you kind of pick and build 1 or 2 tanky heroes that have a lot of HP or a lot of armor that can sustain throughout the enemy's toolkit, then you can just kind of play the long game, and you can win fights over like a long period of time. And it makes me think also of that Team Liquid game against, I think it was an Asian team, was it in last TI or 2 TIs ago? One of the teams had a DK that was super fat, maybe an Alk was super fat, and do you remember this? It could have been.
Was this the game where Liquid couldn't kill an Alchemist?
Maybe it was that game.
Yeah,
but then
PL, Miracle was PL, and they literally just couldn't kill Alchemist.
They also had a DK with the Alchemists team, I believe.
Yeah, they had a DK as well.
And like literally both those heroes just couldn't die. Liquid just literally couldn't kill the enemy heroes, those 2 heroes.
Adam, any particular thoughts on durability in terms of fitting that into a draft? How important that can be?
I absolutely refuse to use the term tank. I'm just opposed to it. This isn't League of Legends. There's only one tank in this game, and it's Axe because he has a taunt. Nobody.
Do they call it tank in League?
Yeah, they call it a tank.
So what does that mean? What do they mean by that? Do they mean
tanky heroes hero? They have taunts that draw attention, physically force things. I don't know. I played League for like 40 hours, and that was my first MOBA. And then I came over to Dota, and I just used the terminology. This is clear in my memory when I was first starting to play. Like, we need a tanky hero, and then someone was like, "There are no tanks in Dota. That's a League term. Get out of here!" Like, so that's always stuck in my head. The term is durable.
Wow, that's kind of a feels bad. I feel like League have a monopoly on the word tank. That's kind of sad.
Well, I guess it's in other, like, Heroes of the Storm has tanks as well, and
World of Tanks.
World of Tanks has tanks, but with I don't know. You want somebody like when I think of durable, I think kind of like frontliney type.
Yeah,
but also it doesn't have to actually be part of the hero itself. It's also really heavily item based.
Completely,
Yeah, so like maybe you need to build Crimson Guard, maybe you need to build a pipe. I mean, pipe's very tanky at it, but that's not like a, I don't know, classical tank item since it's magic.
Yeah, and some squishy cores build an item like BKB, and suddenly that's all the durability they need is those 6 seconds. I'm thinking someone like PA, BKB doesn't particularly make you durable. It makes you durable for 10 to 5 seconds. But if you're a hero like PA, sometimes that's all you need. So sometimes, like you say, it's a really good point. You can itemize.
Sometimes you have drafts where you have like 5 ranged heroes, and you're just like, how are we ever gonna like actually fight. You know, like how
Yeah.
somebody, if you're, this goes into initiation too, but initiation and durability kind of goes hand in hand for a lot of heroes. But it's like somebody needs to get in there and force someone's attention. And that's usually what the durable hero does. It's
Yeah.
like they're in there and like, oh, we can't just let this guy sit here and just auto attack my core. We're going to have to react. And then that's when you can do something. Even something like Spirit Breaker. That's like a combination initiation durable hero. But that forces a response. And that's kind of how I think about durability.
Yeah. Team fight, another classic buzzword that hopefully hasn't been stolen by other MOBAs just yet. Another very important aspect of a team composition, one that's easier to come by, right? There's a lot more heroes that you consider to have strong team fight than you would strong durability. I almost said the T word there, but strong durability.
No, see, tankiness is okay. It's
The
saying
role of tank,
the
isn't
role of a tank. That's
I
what's
see,
not
I
okay.
see.
It's gonna say we need a tank. That's not
okay.
That's not it. Yeah, we need some beef. We need a durable hero. That's okay.
Yeah.
Frontliner, a bruiser, a brawler, even.
A fat lad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Team fight. This is another thing just for me. I'll perhaps start us off. I'll just think team fight's one of those things where you need a balance. Because obviously the way Dota is, every hero's balanced, and there isn't a hero that exhibits incredible tankability, damage, ganking, potential, team fight. It doesn't have all of it. So team fight's a thing that you can definitely have too much of, in my opinion. And as well as you at the same time, you can also have not.
Can you expand on having too much team fight?
Wait, what hero did you say? What did you say? There's no hero that does what? Has damage?
I said there's no hero that has team fight, ganking potential, tankability, damage initiation, etc.
Well, all
You just named Pangolier, sir.
He can't hit a tower.
He can't hit a tower yet. That is one thing he can't do. Yeah, sorry. This OP. It was like you named all the things that he could do.
But he doesn't want to kill towers because he bounces off them with his ult.
Yeah. So,
but yeah,
we expand upon what you were saying. Sorry.
In the sense that if you draft 5 heroes that all are balanced around the fact that they have crazy team fight, as soon as your spells are on cooldown, and as soon as you're split up, not in a team fight situation, you just get dismantled.
Okay, so over reliance on your big team fights, ultimates, etc. kind of idea.
And over reliance on your heroes having kits that mean that they excel in team fight situations and therefore are relatively weak in non-team fight situations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a classic pro game situation, is where the enemy Tidehunter doesn't have Ravage. Now they can just push in and like don't have to be worried at all or take a Roche. It's like, like the Tide blows a Ravage. Maybe they get some kills. The other team buys back the guys that died, and oh no, we can't do anything for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you get it the other way as well, where in pro games as well, where a team will seemingly be way ahead. Because they have a team comp that's tilted the other way, where they're not relying on these big ultimates and they can fight all the time and they can gank and they can go and hit squads. Suddenly the game is going later and there's a tipping point where suddenly the game becomes more group up orientated, and the team that's being crapped on through the game take a big team fight, use their big team fight spells, and the game flips on its head because you're in a 5v5. You're at the point of the game that's more 5v5 orientated. So it just goes again to what I was saying at the start, where for me, team fight is something to be balanced.
I think it's really interesting how the meta can swing between how much team fight it's kind of optimal. Because if you think about past metas, so say there was a time when position 4 was rife and it was all about this roaming position 4. It wasn't like a set 2-1-2. Position 4 was going all over the map. Team fighting lineups were just way too slow, and there was so many little skirmishes and ganks happening that the meta kind of didn't dictate big team fights. But then I feel like we've spoken not that long ago about these enigmas, tides were appearing a bit more as the pace of the game slowed a bit, and that allows more room for team fighting and big balling team movements to happen. If you think about, I mean, I just go back to TI. Was it TI2? I mean, this is yonks ago, but like the big Naga, big tide kind of plays and low kill scores, even across the TIs. So say tier 3, absolute no tier team fight with Alliance. You go to EGs, I mean, they were picking up AA Earthshaker, that's quite team fighty. You see my point, I mean, it's not a point, it's just an observation that it's really cool to see the meta shift between along the scale of team fight to not much team fight, and just a general observation. We can move on.
No, definitely, that's a really good observation. This is one of the things that's meta dependent.
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up.
Just like at that last TI, Earthshaker was picked all the time, and now you never see it. And Earthshaker is like classic team fight, echo, counter initiate or initiate type of hero. That's a long cooldown, high impact ult.
I would like to define what we mean by team fight. So I'll start by just saying I like the term team fight and I like the term skirmishes. So skirmishes being these 1 versus 1, versus
smaller.
2, up to 3 heroes kind of engagement, and then team fight being your 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 bigger engagements. And in those bigger engagements, team fight spells are the ones that their impact comes from, like, say, hitting multiple heroes, like big AoE spells really is what we're talking about. Or spells with big cooldowns.
Team fights like Ravage, Black Hole, Vacuum Wall,
Golem, Venomous Gale.
But then there's other types of team fight that maybe are the next tier down, where like, okay, Chronosphere, team fight, early game, hit squad spell, late game, huge team fight spell. And then like even Centaur Stampede, use that early to get kills, but then that's your big team fights later in the game. And then also like Silencer. I think Global is a team fight spell, but it doesn't necessarily stun anyone or do anything.
I mean, you can use it for this one hero pickoff as well.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a global silent stun spell, Adam?
Global silent stun. I think global silence is plenty strong enough. I'm just saying it doesn't deal damage. So it's like, why would I buy wards? That doesn't give damage. Why would I do global silence? It doesn't damage.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly what you guys said already. It's basically just high cooldown, high impact spells.
And then the other side of the spectrum, you have like Bounty Hunter running around to individual heroes.
Slardar.
Slark. These heroes aren't really team fight heroes.
Pango.
Kappa. Weaver. Yeah. So that's team fight.
Do you think it's necessary? Should we ask
I want to say that I think you can totally win games without having any team fight.
That is definitely true.
It is not like a must-have, because the other side of it is, we just dodge all the team fights, right? You just dodge you just split and peel and like don't take a 5v5 ever. And you're like, oh, well, how do you ever kill that? Well, you just pick people off one by one and then they can never take their team fight. So
yeah, it's definitely, if you're not, I completely agree, you don't need team fight to win. But if you don't have team fight, and this seems obvious to say, but if you don't have team fight, you can't play a vanilla game of Dota. You know, you need to heavily adjust the way you're playing and heavily adjust your win condition, right? If you don't have team fight, for example, you're going to need push. And more of it, right? And you're going to need crazy ganking potential. And because of the way Dota's balanced, you likely will have those things, because heroes that don't have team fight are very likely to have those other aspects.
It feeds into the nice idea of, what's that term? Win condition. So, and how easy they are to execute. So often you can have drafts where you go, one of those teams has a draft that's harder to execute, and therefore harder to meet your win condition. And I think quite often, say drafts which don't have team fight composition and are reliant therefore on, okay, we need to A, control the map, B, get loads of pickoffs when we can, C, itemize right, or like make a big one, right, picking off heroes, playing fast paced. Often you say, or you can say, that those drafts are harder to execute because their win condition is less straightforward than, say, okay, we've got this big team fight lineup. We're gonna get these few key items. We're going to like farm, just dodge skirmishes, and then we're going to group up, take the big objectives, or take the towers, take the rush, and therefore it's a easier win condition to execute. It's quite an interesting idea that the team fight competitions can play into.
Yeah. So we'll put team fight down into the maybe category, or do we want to just straight up place it in the no category for if it's needed? We'll put it in no with an asterisk.
Yeah, I have it as in no. I think there's something else that is
it's not
team
necessary.
fight that is more necessary than if we just want to go into initiation. I think initiation's higher than
let's go
team
initiation.
fight.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think about initiation then?
Well, you just need a way to do stuff. It's like the base, the lowest common denominator. Somebody needs to have some catch or needs to be able to jump in and force a response. Otherwise, the other team is just going to dodge you the whole time. So whether it's like that could just be a Fisher stun, or it doesn't have to be like a blink, something like a glimpse or from a disruptor, or just something that lets you
initiation / catch.
Yeah, just mobility. Yeah, because you don't want to be this roaming death ball. That's like, how do we ever make anybody like take us seriously other than taking tier 3s? But then we're like really out of position because it's so hard to siege high ground.
To that point, I think it's nearly always true, apart from the extreme scenario of a very push-orientated lineup where you literally don't even care about hero kills, and you've got a Lycan and you just swarm. You've got a Lycan and a Rasta, and you swarm objectives and don't even need to kill heroes to win the game.
Yeah,
but that's an extreme scenario.
And the trash MMR version of what you've just said, Marco, I know I've definitely lost games in the opposite situation where rather than forcing the enemy to fight into you because you're pushing a tier 3, you force the enemy to basically try and end the game by going up your tier 3. I'm thinking games with a sniper, or games against a sniper or against a Medusa, where you basically can't break the base. And even though the enemy team have no initiation, they just sit at the top of their ramp.
Oh, and you run up
turtle,
the ramp.
Yeah, just like turtle strats, basically.
Yeah, you fail to break the turtle.
Yeah, because it's basically just two of the same. It's basically forcing the enemy to fight into you. But like you say, they're very extreme situations. These are tentative, sort of, should never really get into that situation. Even push lineups probably need some initiation. But then at the same time, there are tons of heroes that have varying levels of initiation. And like Adam said, it doesn't have to be blink duel. It can be a Fisher. It can be just some form of catch.
Also,
nowadays you just need to build Atos. I just realized.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, that's a perfect solution. Also, say there is this extreme push lineup. One way that you break it down and defeat it is that you have an initiator that helps you find a kill that stops the death ball happening, and therefore the initiator ingredient works wonders.
Yeah,
because that's a big way to stop a throne going down in 20 minutes. Is don't let the enemy find.
Well, that falls into like Earthshaker or like a blink RP or just blink skewer from Mag, just to pull somebody in. Is solid.
Yeah.
Or Pudge.
Hooks win games.
Yeah.
That should be one of our categories. Put team checklist, push, team fight, ganking potential, durability, meat hook.
Do you have meat hook on your team?
Because if you don't, the other team sure as hell will. The amount of Pudges in my games is unbelievable. Anyway, let's jump from initiation. That wasn't even an intended pun. That just came out. Let's jump from initiation. We'll blink out of initiation and go to basically something very similar, stuns and disable, right? I feel like similar to what we were talking about with team fight, unless you're some Gosu gamer that can execute a very good strat, you should have stuns. You can't go wrong with stuns, right? I mean, this is... I'd probably be pushing for this to be a necessary thing, right? You need some stuns, probably 2 stuns. Well, you don't need, but I would say...
No, I think you can classify it as needing it because apart from the extreme scenario of some pro 5-man lineup playing some push strat, or I mean, it's actually hard to not have a lineup with stuns and disables, really, apart from if you're doing something crazy extreme push
It
strat.
happens occasionally when you're playing a pub and you're like, wait a second, we actually have one stun. It's not even a stun. It's like Shoryuken toss is our only stun. And you're like, man, this is going to be a hard game.
Yeah, if the only way where it's acceptable to not have stuns or disables is if you've got some Omega push lineup, and which is some extreme case. Therefore, basically every case when there aren't stuns or disables, you're asking to have a hard time and you're asking to have a difficult game. So yeah, I would definitely class it as the necessary category.
They're just so it plays right into what Marco said. The ease of execution. A stun lineup is about as easy as you can get in terms of
DotA. Definitely.
As long as you don't stack them.
Yeah.
But I need to
you just have it's 5 o'clock, sir.
Marco has to go catch his train.
Yeah. Do you want me to say something like, "Oh, I've got to skedaddle"?
No,
Do you want to just continue the pod and just pretend I never
I'm
speak
not editing
again?
this out.
Okay.
No, I'll edit some. I don't know. We'll see.
Go to the train, sir.
Yeah, go, run.
Yeah.
Cast Surge.
Good luck, have fun.
Okay.
That feels better now. It's only true podcasters left.
Yeah. So Marco has to leave.
Yeah. He just doesn't like the fans enough. That's the problem.
Yeah, for all the listeners. So does he get credit for like half of a cap or something?
Yeah, I think so.
How does that work?
Substitute appearance.
Okay, a sub. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sub him off for nobody.
Yeah. Red card.
That's a red card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or orange card.
Oh, not this debacle again.
Yeah.
We'll spare the listeners the orange card discussion. We can just jump right ahead with stuns and disables.
Yes, so I think I was going to say, stun lineups, super easy to, there's so much less punishing to pull off.
Yeah.
I mean, you deny all mobility. Nobody's ever going to get a TP out on you. Get a lot of kills in lane. I mean, if you have something like a Wraith King Shadow Shaman lane, or it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes your life so much easier, and it's way easier to punish the enemy, right? If heroes get out of position, you've got a disable there, you capitalize, you get a kill. If you don't have a disable, those kinds of situations, you effectively let the enemy get away with more, is the way I would perhaps see it. Because if they get out of position, so what, right? You don't have disable, you don't have stuns to get to them. Another aspect as well is interrupting things, channeled spells, TPs, exactly like what you just said. It just makes your life so much easier. You can't go wrong with a disable. You just click it and your work's done.
And they don't have to be afraid of you. They can just play so much more greedy because it's like, I will TP out.
Yeah, exactly. I'll split push and then I'll run away.
But right now, I mean, I think you can totally get away with stun disable or without stuns because of Atos. I don't want to keep harping on that, but there is a great S tier item that offers you channel disruption and initiation for less than 3,000 gold or right at 3,000 gold, and that everyone can build. So I think you can do some lineups without it. I know I've been playing a lot of 4-position Venomancer, and we had Nature's Prophet Venomancer cores and supports, and then someone in the draft was like, "Oh, great, our supports don't have any stuns," and it's like, I am building an Atos, and that solves all the problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Now I have this insane slow hero and area control, as well as channel disruption. So
and the reason Atos is so good, in an abstract sense, is because like what we've been saying. Heroes are balanced around the extent to which they have team fight versus ganking potential versus durability versus all these things. And when you have heroes that are balanced around the fact that they don't have disable, and suddenly you're able to give them that in such a strong way with Atos for such a cheap amount of gold, suddenly their kits are just enhanced to the next level, and that's what makes this item so good. And it's like what you said, when you've got disable in such a short reach in terms of gold, you can get away with lineups that have less natural disable with their spells. So yeah,
just even Yules or Atos. I mean, it used to be Yules, right? That was the way that people would would do it. But now you have Atos, which honestly is more heroes would rather have an Atos. So it's definitely opened up to. I've definitely built Atos on Agi heroes, Int heroes, and Strength heroes. So
yeah. Moving on from disable. God, I can't get puns out of my head. It's actually like a disease since the last episode. I was going to say the disable debuff has ended, so we can move on to the next topic. Yeah. Which, to be fair, I think damage is perhaps maybe the last aspect to talk about. And it's one that is probably less of a problem in our pubs because everyone loves building damage, right? There's always going to be
like physical magic?
Well, both.
Just like
both.
nuke? Okay.
But, well, in any sense. So do lineups always need physical? Do they always need damage? Magical? Do they always need both? I mean, there are definitely games where you have lots of disable, you have lots of all these other things we've been talking about, but if you can't capitalize on those things with damage, then you're going to have a bad time. I mean, what's your initial thoughts on how you see damage in terms of a team composition?
Yeah, I guess we should say with all of these things outside of maybe sieging, it's also dependent on your opponent's draft.
For sure.
Right. It shows like, do we need a certain amount of stuns or a certain amount of team fights or a team fight or initiation?
Yeah.
But with damage, I think damage is probably the most affected by your opponent's draft. Like, you could totally get away with all physical damage, but as long as they don't have like a Winter Wyvern or, you know, something that's going to absolutely punish that. And then there are other times where you really need, they like have a high, let's just say they have a Terrorblade. So you're really going to want nuke because you don't want them to get off the Sunder. So you're definitely going to want to try and blow somebody up.
Yeah, preferably magic. Yeah.
Yeah, so that lends itself to magic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like let's see, it's like if I go vanilla Dota lineup, right? It's probably what, a 60-40 or 70-30 physical magic damage split, probably. If you go to late game potential. Early magic damage is like ahead, but then if you go
it tilts more towards physical the longer you go, for sure.
Yeah, probably 60-40.
Yeah. But... I mean, I would say damage to an extent is not always predicated on the opponents. I mean, obviously, the examples you've just drawn out there, it's situations in which you'd look at your lineup and think, we need more than the usual amount of magic damage because we're against a Terrorblade, or we need more of the usual physical damage because the enemy cores are all natural BKB builders, say, for instance.
Right.
But you need a base amount of damage because there are a lot of... If you have 5 heroes that don't have scaling physical damage, right, here without crits, or, you know, without attack speed modifiers and it built into their kit, things that are going to help them be big physical damage dealers, then you'll probably run into problems scaling rise, right? Because if we're thinking of that vanilla team that you were just talking about, like you say, the longer the game goes, the more physical damage becomes important because heroes build things like BKBs, their HP pools outscale their spell damage, right? Because you get to level 4 and they don't really scale anymore. So I would say, in terms of building your perfect team comp, in terms of building your vanilla team comp, you definitely want some scaling damage of some sort, and almost always scaling damage, unless you're a lion, scaling damage is going to be physical damage, right? So I would say you almost always want scaling physical damage.
For sure. I mean, it goes, how I said, you got to look at what the other team has. Well, you also need to pick something yourself that's going to make the other team want to react to you, right? It's just, you're going to need to have something that scales, like a PL or just, I don't know, just something. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to play the game past 30 minutes, unless you're really just trying to end the game at 30 minutes.
Yeah. It just makes your win window smaller if you don't have high scaling heroes, these hard carries. They're almost always physical, right?
Yeah, I think we've all played either an all random game or somehow you've got a lineup that's all like supports, right? You got the magic damage support lineup, and you just crush the early game because the other team has more carry, and they're like, oh, how do we deal with all this nuke? And then you stall out at the tier 3s, and they start to get a couple items, and then so you need to have some form of damage, unless you have a Pugna, or now that Meteor Hammer's in the game, maybe you can close out the 5 support lineup draft. But yeah, I think it goes without saying that damage is definitely something you want to be looking at. That's generally what you're wanting out of the position 1.
Yeah. Tell you what I'd love. I can't wait for OpenAI to get good enough that they can play every hero, and then you can do like draft simulations. How cool would that be? I'm thinking 5 cores versus 5 supports, right? I mean, you'd expect 5 supports to win that one all the time with the way that OpenAI plays, just ultra ruthless spellcasting. They just thrown at like 15 minutes. But it'd be really cool to have some sort of ability to throw 10 heroes into a simulation and see which draft comes out ahead.
Oh, that would be really sweet, but they're not working on that project anymore, I thought.
Oh, they finished? Is it over?
I thought they weren't planning on adding any new heroes, or like they were pretty much done with
makes sense.
They had it stop learning. This is like whatever, because I didn't get to play last weekend when they had it up there, but whatever they uploaded was like the final boss, the final AI.
Oh, that's sad. Although I suppose for them as a company, there's not much more to do, right? I mean,
right.
They did this weird show match with OG where they crushed.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to do. Does that mean that we can conclusively say that artificial intelligence doesn't pose a threat to us because they can't figure out illusions? All this talk
I think we're safe for now.
Yeah, we're safe for now. If they ever try and take over the world, like I hear all this chat of AI taking over the world, how we can't control it and all that. All we need to do is just put a blow-up human in front of them, and they'll use all their efforts trying to kill it because they can't understand it.
But yeah, exactly. As long as facial recognition isn't
hero recognition
so far advanced. Yeah. I didn't get to play against the bot, but I know that I kind of read into what some teams had done to win, and it's just like the later and later the game went, the bots had less data. Experience with it. Less data to pull from. They were like, they didn't rate things as highly. Like I heard that they didn't treat runes with the same, like a DD rune or something with the same level of respect that a human team would, or like Roche. Or I heard, this is funny because this is like 1K, 2K Dota all over again, is that Shadowblade was just OP because the bots just didn't use dust or like carry dust in the same way that a human team would. So it's just hilarious because invisibility has always been invincibility. So that's just confirmed.
Is that something we need to do on our drafting checklist? Invisibility.
Yeah. Do you have an invis hero?
Maybe if you're talking 2K or below, that's a maybe. Rather than just a straight up no.
It's so disheartening to play like the position 5 and have the other team have an invis hero, because you're never going to have any items. And then it just makes the other support's life on the other team so easy because they just deward all your wards because that's the only job they have. And then you get yelled at because this bounty hunter's on top of me. Where are the wards? And it's like, it's classic.
Yeah. We've pretty much hit all the things we wanted to talk about in terms of our drafting checklist. To recap, push, this is in the needed category. A sprinkling was the terminology that we, I think, landed on. A sprinkling of push is necessary. Excess push is optional. Team fight, we said this was optional, although the lower MMR you are, the more important this becomes, because playing with less team fight means your execution has to be tighter. Durability, similar story, right? We said that the more durable your heroes are, the easier it is for you to play, but it doesn't necessarily mean that wider your win condition is. It just means it's easier to achieve the win condition that you do have because you're super tanky. And we had that caveat about... Caveat? We had the
Yeah.
caveat about enabling certain heroes like Sniper or countering certain heroes like LC. So and all these things are team dependent, of course. Initiation, we said some sprinkling of initiation necessary, excess luxury. Similar for stuns and disable, and damage. We said necessary. I mean, damage is sort of a whole separate thing because every hero has damage. But we said scaling damage almost always going to be necessary if you want to have a win condition that doesn't just cease to exist at 30 minutes, say. You happy with all of those?
Yeah, if we were like baking a cake.
Oh, I like it. Tell me more.
So like damage would be the majority of the batter.
Batter?
And then the
Making
cake batter.
What? The only thing in batter in these lands is cod.
What do you call cake that hasn't been baked? Like you mix everything up into a cake.
Oh, the mix. Oh, like the cake mix.
Yeah, that's called batter, sir.
Batter? This is a culture clash. What? I mean,
what are you talking about? I obviously realize fish and chips is a thing, and like you dip it in batter, but there's also
dip it in batter.
Dirt batter.
Deep fry it for the batter.
I cannot believe.
Oh, sorry. I'll go ahead with batter. To be fair, you're the favorite podcaster according to our survey results, so I should bow to you and your NA followers and say
no. That's just
cake batter.
Skewed because it's skewed because I was the one that made the survey. So.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, they saw my name.
I'm happy to believe that. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got a cake batter, right?
Yeah. So a team comp cake, I would think damage would be the base of the cake. So just your base vanilla cake. Okay. And then we're going to sprinkle in. No, we can't say sprinkle because that was why the whole reason I made this analogy in my head. So then what are we going to put in the cake? Some chocolate chips or something? That would probably be your initiation or stuns. Important. A little bit of flair, but not. You can get away with a vanilla cake, a damage cake.
Yeah, the most important thing of all the things we've said is damage, right? So that's
right.
That's the sponge of the cake, right? That's the actual cake stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other really important thing is push. So maybe the push is what, like the
Well, I said the
sugar.
So
the
since
sugar?
we kept saying sprinkling, yeah. So like push is your icing because
right.
You can't have a team comp without some push. So that's you can't really have a cake without icing.
And everything else is decorations.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you have the stuns, the stuns and initiation / durability. That can be your additives into the cake batter, whether it's chocolate chips or strawberries or food coloring. I don't know. And then your outside, your sprinklings. What we say was a sprinkle was push, right? Yeah. So your icing and sprinkles can be your push. So basically, you just want a pushing, damaging lineup, and that's how you make one tired analogy between a cake and a team comp.
That's how you turn a podcast episode into a Papega right there. Bake a cake.
Yeah, bake a cake.
So final part of the podcast, a little fun thing. We said we'd go over our dream composition, as it were, or just 5 heroes that, based on sort of the things we've been saying, or not, or you can go away from this.
Yeah.
You think it constitutes the perfect composition. I'll let you kick us off. I don't know if you want to run through the heroes and briefly why you've picked them for this perfect composition.
Okay, so this team is called Adam's Degenerate Deathball. And
ADD,
yeah. So there's a couple different flex positions, I guess. But the first iteration I have of this team is you got Lycan as your safe laner, Drow as your mid, Necro as your off lane, Venge position 4, and Nature's Prophet 5. So from this lineup, you have 4 ranged heroes with Drow Aura. So that's obviously super solid. And then you have Venge Aura as well. So damage is through the roof. Then you have Lycan and Nature's Prophet summons with Howl. So that's extra dirty. Also getting all your damage from the Venge. And then you have heal from the Necro to sustain. the pushes, and then you still have teleport from Nature's Prophet for ganking or some form of initiation from Sprout. You have stun from Necro and Venge. You have swaps for initiation when you're pushing into things.
Yep.
So, and then like Chase with Lycan, and you have lots of people in front of the Drow. So, I don't know. Seems pretty solid. And then the other thought of this was if you wanted to make it not a Drow lineup, you could put Necro mid and then put in a Wraith King as your 3. Or if you wanted Wraith King for the Lycan, you would lose that on Hal, but then you would gain the skeletons and an even better frontliner, I think, Wraith King instead of Lycan. Or if you wanted to make the Necro mid, then you would have Wraith King summon. So then, as from your 3, so then you would have skeletons, wolves, necro creeps, and treants all getting Hal. So it's kind of a cheese, but it's got everything that we kind of mentioned.
It's got the important things, right? I mean, you'd say it's definitely got push. I mean, it's got so much push that I actually feel sick.
This is like a degenerate pushing lineup.
I know.
But it also has. Also, I guess we didn't even talk about minus armor from the Venge. Yeah, it's definitely got Roche potential. It's got, I wouldn't say it's like super team fighty, but it's definitely a sustaining ball that
type of yeah.
Yeah, and you can like swap people in or TP behind people and sprout them. It definitely has enough initiation. Maybe not, you're not going to be wanting to push into Ravage Black Hole, but even then you have Venge swap for BKB piercing Black Hole cancel. So it's I don't know, it's a pretty disgusting little lineup.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking, imagine telling a man to build his dream Dota lineup. This is poetry in motion. That's how he sees Dota, and he's throwing Lycan, Drow, Necro, Venge, Prophet at you. That's a man that's been twisted by years of playing this game. I'll tell you that. That's his idea of beauty now. That's actually kind of sad.
Yeah, that's you better win at 18 minutes. That's what.
Yeah.
Everybody better get level 12 and that's it.
That's a man. Yeah. Now, you don't, when you think of beauty in Dota, you don't think of like some crazy nice game. You just think of the 3 symbols plus 25. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I'll go through my lineup briefly and then I'll explain my thinking.
But do you have a title for your?
I'll come back to the title in a moment.
Okay.
So my lineup is, I'll go in reverse order. I've got Undying at the 5, Shadow Shaman at the 4, Beastmaster at the 3, Necro at the 2, and a lot of options for position 1. I'm going to go PA because I think it illustrates what I'm trying to go for the most. And my idea building this lineup was basically to build a vanilla lineup that ticks as many boxes as possible. Push, we've got Beastmaster, who can push by himself in a lane. Shaman Ward's also very good for pushing. D-push, we've got things like Necro, it has good spam. Beastmaster has decent spam once he's leveled his axes, etc. Team fight, we've got Primal Roar, we've got Necro, it's pretty good. We've got Tombstone, so we've got good, not crazy, but good team fight, and to go along with our good go along with our good pushing. Damage, we've got PA, crazy damage, Necro, a lot of damage with the ult. So we ticked 2 boxes that I wanted to tick, which was high magic damage on sort of a high cooldown in terms of we got high team fight damage with Reaper's Scythe, and we've also got high skirmishy damage with PA. Stuns and disables, Necro doesn't. Necro will have an Atos probably, so that's a sort of asterisk-y one. PA obviously doesn't have stuns and disable. Beastmaster, big, long cooldown stun and disable, and Shaman with low cooldown skirmishy stuns and disables. Initiation, Primal Roar, great initiation. That's kind of our only initiation. Hex, I suppose, is okay if you can run up and hex someone. That's a luxury.
Aether Lens Shaman.
Yeah, Atos as well. So that was my thinking. I sort of covered every base, is what I was going for with this lineup. And strong lanes, which is a sort of undercurrent of everything we've been talking about is it's always nice to have good lanes as well. Undying Beastmaster's a very strong lane, and I think Shaman does very well to zone out and help the PA. I know I said Undying's my 5 and Shaman's my 4, but I'd have Undying in the off lane as the 5. Anyway, going back to my name, I really don't want to dig up this cake analogy because I feel like it's almost single-handedly killed off this episode. But I might dip back in and say that this is carrot cake. This is my lineup. My lineup stands carrot cake. It's great cake. It tastes good. It tastes healthy. It ticks every box. It's just great, but it's not flashy. It's not your triple chocolate. It's not some weird Enigma black hole warlock golem that just stuns you, but you don't really like it that much. This is just a great cake right here.
Is carrot cake healthy?
For a cake, I mean, it's like the same with Dota. Is Dota healthy? No, but this lineup's at least healthier. This lineup's healthier than your lineup. Your lineup's like toxic waste. My lineup's like nice carrot cake. So it's all.
There is no cake for my lineup. My lineup is stomped over the cake.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So as Dota goes, my lineup's pretty healthy. So I'd say as cake goes, my lineup's pretty healthy.
I do like both of our threes between Necro and Beastmaster are pretty cool in that they kind of just solo push on their own, absorb the lane that's like on the opposite side of the map, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Just take over the enemy safe lane and then let your other 4 heroes do stuff.
Yeah, it's the underrated aspect of what we were talking about right at the start with push. It's not just game-winning objective taking racks and taking tier 3s. It's also being able to threaten tier 1s and tier 2s if they're left in the lane for even a short amount of time, right? If you leave a Beastmaster, I'd say Beastmaster does this better than Necro. If you leave a Beastmaster in a lane for a couple of minutes, your tower's gone. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that's a really nice, potent tool to have because the enemy team needs to answer that if they want to keep their towers up. So that's a nice aspect. So those are our team comps. I'll give you the final.
Do we want to guess what Stan or Marco's would be? His lineup. Surely it'd be some like flashy, hard to pull off, 0 stun, outplay you lineup that would just not work in any sense. Maybe. Probably like a Puck mid, probably like a Mirana 4, just all skill shots.
Yeah. I don't know I wonder what Marco's dream lineup would be. The thing is, when we're talking about dream lineups, we're probably talking about sort of like captain's mode, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you picked my lineup and I'll pick, I think you just would roll.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, the problem with Marco's dream lineup is Mars is banned in captain's mode still, so...
That's true. Yeah. Dirty Mars spammer.
We need to be careful with that. We can't say it too much. It makes Marco sad. So
he's not here to defend himself.
It's
so
very
we can
true.
Say it
he's on
as much as we want.
He's on a train. What can you do?
I mean, it's his fault. You go to his profile now. Like Mars has been out for what, 2 months? And think of how long Marco's played Dota. What do you think his number 1 displayed hero, like most successful, is? It's Mars.
Really?
It's like 92% win rate, 11 streak or something. It's
92% win rate. Wow.
You did it to yourself, sir. Like
that's crazy good though. That's the other side of the coin.
It's amazing. It's amazing because the only reason I clicked on his profile, I'm like, I haven't seen that hero icon before underneath someone's profile.
True.
Never seen Mars displayed like that. I was like, what? If I clicked on this guy's profile, he's on the other team, I'd think he was a Smurf.
Yeah.
You see 92% win rate on any hero. You're like,
Yeah. Wow, that's very impressive. 92% win rate on Mars. Wow.
Yeah, it's a justified spam, to be honest.
He doesn't even spam it, to be totally honest. But
yeah, I mean, it's just quiet. if I had a hero that had a 92% win rate on, why would I ever play another hero?
That's the same with me. That's what I always think about Marco. He's like picking other heroes. I'm like, bro, just pick Mars. Come on. So yeah. That is episode 18 in the books.
Our podcast is no longer a minor of age.
Thanks for Adam. Big thanks for Adam for being here as always. Thanks to Marco as well for the part that he was in here. We'll be back in a week's time for another Friday episode. That'll be episode 19. After our brief discussion on OpenAI, I kind of want to do lessons to be learned from OpenAI episode. Maybe that's one for the next week or two. But we've got plenty, hundreds and hundreds of ideas. Well, tens and tens of ideas for
into the tens of ideas.
Into the tens of ideas for future episodes. We're super excited to make more content. I certainly am. I'm really enjoying the podcast, and always great to hear from listeners. As always, the Discord link will be in the description. Ongoing work on website and such things. In-houses every Wednesday, as always. So, I hope you enjoyed listening, and we'll be back in a week, as I said. Until then, bye.
Nice.